I stumbled across an article that Ian Rapoport posted on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, about a bunch of different teams getting their mini camp started this week and what they're kind of expecting around each of those teams. And for the New Orleans Saints, they said, how is Klint Kubiak's installation going? So we're going to discuss all of that, go through what Kevin Patra said, and a lot more in today's video. But don't jinx it, Who Dat Nation. Sub for Saints dubs. Every time you subscribe, gets the New Orleans Saints another win this season. So let's get to 28,000 ASAP. Subscribe today because we also have minicamp starting tomorrow. We're going to be giving you guys updates around the New Orleans Saints, takeaways, all sorts of stuff. There's injury news, attendance, all that kind of updates. So be sure to subscribe so that way you know what's going on with the black and gold as we head into the 2024 season. But let's kick it over to Kevin Patra. I wanted to break down this article piece by piece because I think it does a good job of, what could we expect for New Orleans this year? Kevin Patra saying every club in the NFC South is breaking in a new offensive coordinator, but none intrigues me as much as Klint Kubiak importing a new offense to the Bayou. So here are the new offensive coordinators in the NFC South. We obviously got Kubiak in New Orleans, Zach Robinson, the former pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach over with the Los Angeles Rams, is in Atlanta. Liam Cohen, the Kentucky Wildcats offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach last year, is now in Tampa Bay. And Brad Idzik, he is with the Carolina Panthers. Last year, he was the wide receivers coach for the Buccaneers, so he does have a little bit of familiarity with the NFC South. But I will say this, Klint Kubiak is definitely the most intriguing option. But I do like Zach Robinson. I think he is a smart offensive coach, and he does come from that Shanahan West Coast style offensive tree. So it's going to be kind of cool to see, or not Shanahan, the McVay coaching tree. So it'll be cool to see the McVay versus the Shanahan coaching tree this year in the NFC South. But back to Patra saying the Saints have run a version of the Sean Payton offense since the George W. Bush administration, importing a Kubiak-Shanahan style scheme should freshen up the joint and provide a different look for a club entering a pivotal season under Dennis Allen. So I do agree. This is a big season for Dennis Allen. I do think that this year could be the last year that we see DA if this season just goes completely off the rails. Now, if New Orleans makes the playoffs, he's going to be back next year. Whether you like it or not, I do believe Dennis Allen will be the coach of the New Orleans Saints if they make the postseason. But in terms of what we can expect from Klint Kubiak's new offense, I've shown this graphic before, but we'll kind of run through this really quick. It's going to be a West Coast offense, a lot of wide zone schemes, expect a lot of wide zone runs and whatnot. He says he wants to be grounded and run the football, especially on first and second down, and he wants to be a lot more effective in the red zone. He understood that New Orleans last year was not effective inside the 20-yard line. However, he wants to bring that, elevation of offense and offensive success back to the black and gold. And he does incorporate a high usage of play action plays and a lot of pre-snap movement. And like I said, efficiency in the red zone. And I do expect to see Taysom Hill / Derek Carr get out of pocket at times when they're throwing the ball. And I expect a lot of attacking across the middle of the field, which is something that the Saints, when the offense was humming, they did a lot of. And reports from OTAs are really, really positive around all of those things. We're seeing exactly that be incorporated to the Saints offense at practices thus far. And I do think that it's interesting and important to note that with Kubiak, the offensive, tempo has been much, much higher over than it was with Pete Carmichael last year. It's been a lot more vocal, a lot more efficient, and a lot more effective at practices. And I think that that's really, really important, especially when it's your first year as an offensive coordinator. Establishing an offensive culture and an offensive identity is important, and you have to start doing that at this part of the offseason. And if we take a trip down memory lane, the offense of 2023, it was Jekyll and Hyde. Like, there would be games where, it was humming, things were rolling, and it looked really, really good. But then there were games where it was like, oh my God, can we get a first down? And that is something that was extremely frustrating. And for me, I want to see offensive consistency. That's the big, big thing for me. The points per game, sure, they were okay, but the yards per play were terrible. The third down percentage was extremely average, very bad in the red zone. And the yards per game, sure, there's a lot of empty yards. There was a lot of end-of-the-game yards and, pointless drives that didn't end in touchdowns or end in points or ended in points, and then they just wasn't enough. It was so unbelievably frustrating last year for the Saints offense. So I want to see consistency, and I want to see proper usage of the weapons and scheming up those weapons to use them at their best strengths. That is my biggest thing for the Saints this year. Are you excited about the new Saints offense? Everything I just said, I think we'll see a lot more of in 2024 rather than we did in 2023. So just give me a yes or no. What say you, Who Dat Nation? Are you pumped up about a new offense for the first time since, I was in elementary school. So really quick reminder, Father's Day is right around the corner. And if you haven't already, you need to get your dad some gear. Go to chatsports.com/SaintsDad. You can get him this sick shirt. You can get him a jersey. You can get him a coffee mug, a hat, whatever you want. If he bleeds black and gold, you need to be the son or the daughter of the year. Don't be the sibling that forgot to get your dad something for Father's Day. Use the link in the comment section and description of this video to get your dad some gear today. So back to Kevin Patra. The run scheme could help unleash Alvin Kamara, and the QB-friendly offense would give Derek Carr more answers. The Saints have grown bland under Dennis Allen. Kubiak can be the hero that finally gets New Orleans back into the postseason. Now, I will say it's a little bit unfair to say under Dennis Allen, it's his fault. He's a defensive coach, but ever since Dennis Allen has taken over, the offense has been dull, and that is a fact. So I agree. I don't think it's solely Dennis Allen's fault because he hasn't been calling the offensive plays. But at the end of the day, it is his fault because he's the head coach. Could have, made a different decision with the offensive coordinator. I understand why they went with Carmichael. But in terms of Derek Carr, he just needs to be good in 2024. I don't think he needs to be great. I don't think he needs to have a Hall of Fame season. I don't think he needs to have MVP numbers. I think he just needs to be good. I think he needs to be serviceable. I think he needs to be a little bit above league average. And that's what they're paying him, a little bit above league average. So if you can get that from Derek Carr, that is really, really good things for the New Orleans Saints. Because of the amount of offensive weapons, it's not like they're lacking talent. It's just a matter of using the talent correctly. And I think that Derek Carr is a smart guy in between the ears. However, he just needs to be a more effective and more productive player than he was in 2023. It's not like it was a bad season. He showed a lot of really good decision-making. However, when he was not making good decisions, he was holding on the ball too long, taking sacks, not getting rid of the pill, and, stalling out the offense. So at times, it was really, really frustrating. But to give Carr his flowers, there was some really good things as well. And I do believe for number 41, there is still gas in the tank. I don't think that we have seen the end of the domination of the Alvin Kamara era. Bars. I do believe that after last season, it was a down year, but when we come back to 2024, we'll see production, I think, a little bit closer to what we saw in 2021. I don't think that Kamara is a player that you should count out quite yet. I will say this, he hasn't averaged over 4 yards per carry since 2020, which he averaged 5 yards on the dot, which was pretty solid. However, in terms of the 2023 receiving numbers, he only had 6.2 yards per catch, which was the worst of his career. So I want to see him utilized better in the pass game. I want to see him utilized more effectively on the ground. And I do believe with better offensive play and better offensive play calling, especially in the trenches as well, that can be a really big thing in 2024, considering Kubiak wants to ground this offense once again. And I'm not going to even sit here and say Alvin Kamara is going to be the biggest beneficiary. I think all the running backs will benefit from Klint Kubiak. I think Kendre Miller, he showed a lot of promise. He showed a lot of really interesting things, especially at the end of the season in 2023. Jamal Williams, let's not forget, this was a player a couple seasons ago who led the league in rushing touchdowns with 17. If he's utilized correctly, I think he can still be an effective player. You just have to use him in the proper manner. Similar to Kendre Miller, similar to Alvin Kamara, hell, similar to Taysom Hill, who I think personally could be the biggest winner in terms of bringing in Klint Kubiak. Obviously, Derek Carr will be a big-time beneficiary because he is the quarterback of this offense. But I think Taysom Hill has a lot to gain from bringing in, or from Klint Kubiak being brought in to run the Saints offense. And Hill spoke about that not too long ago after one of the Saints OTAs, or actually at one of the Saints golf tournaments, said that I feel like Clint came in and had a really clear, distinct vision of what we were going to be offensively and how good we can be. I feel like he came in and he coached with a ton of detail, which has been really nice. I love the way that he's approached it, I feel like I'm a detail-oriented guy. I like to know what to do versus different looks, and that's very much so how he coaches. And I do think that Taysom Hill is going to not break out, but have a resurgence this year. Not only in terms of the receiving ability, because he has been working with the tight ends, and Clancy Barone is really excited to utilize him as a tight end, but he's also been getting work with the fullbacks, and we know that he is effective as a ball carrier. We know that he can throw the ball if we wanted him to, and with Klint Kubiak, he can get really, really creative with Taysom Hill's usage, and I think that we can see the Storm and Mormon absolutely light the league on fire. But I want to ask you this question, Saints fans. Who do you think is going to benefit the most from Klint Kubiak? Is it going to be Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, or Derek Carr? Or if it's going to be somebody else, feel free to share their name in the comment section as well. But I want you to pick between these three, or if you think that there's somebody else, shout their name out as well. So final thoughts on today's video to wrap up the show. I do believe that the New Orleans Saints are wildly underrated, and I think that they can make some big-time noise in 2024. I mean, who the hell is to say that the Falcons are going to be much, much better than the Saints? They're not. Klint Kubiak is a much better play caller, in my opinion, than what I think Zach Robinson will do. I also really think that Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr are the same quarterback. Raheem Morris is not a successful head coach. Who in the hell is over here saying that the Falcons are dead set to win the NFC South? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Sure, they're okay, but they won the division on a technicality, on a tiebreaker. So I think that everyone who is sitting here doubting the New Orleans Saints, keep that energy up when New Orleans is making noise in 2024. Let Klint Kubiak cook. Let's bring this offense back into a resurgence and let the defense continue to dominate. I hope you enjoyed today's video, Saints fans. Y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.